We start off with the Daily Nation this morning. Police bosses, a power struggle. This is something that has been festering below the surface. Now we can get to see what's happening. So apparently, there's no deal on a ceasefire, on ceasefire talks which ended without agreement after 5 hours meeting. So let's talk about this. A protracted power struggle between civilian commissioners at the National Police Service Commission, NPSC, and police chiefs has stalled crucial human resource functions, including promotions, reportedly undermining morale in the rank and file of the National Police Service. The paralysis has now attracted the attention of high authorities amid concerns that it could disrupt security preparations ahead of next year's general election. So they have pictures on the front page of the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, and the National Police Service Commission Chairperson, Dr. Amani Yuda Komora. So among the sticky issues is control. Commission wants a key role in recruitment, promotion, and dismissal of police officers, which ideally should be its job. On matters budget, factions tussling to control for control of 60 billion shillings police payroll. Yeah. And Court of Appeal has suspended lower court's order granting Inspector General exclusive powers. This debate about who should be in control of the police payroll has been going on for quite a while, starting from last year, where the Police Inspector General insists he should be the one running the police payroll. Yet it's the National Police Service Commission that employs, hires and fires police officers. It's more or less like the Teacher Service Commission. So that's the main story on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. Let's look at some of the sticky points probably inside the Daily Nation on page 4 and 5. And this is a spread. Security chiefs falling out inside meeting to end rift. And court battle over police powers has paralyzed promotions and caused disquiet, exposing deep divisions between civilian commissioners and the National Police Service commanders. A spread there on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. So that's the main story. Back to the front page. That fire at Gikomba features here prominently. Palechini, 2 killed in Gikomba fire. When will this madness stop, they ask. For the upteenth time, the sprawling Gikomba market burned under mysterious circumstances on Sunday morning, causing the deaths of 2 people and injuries to several others. The suspected arson attack adds to previous unresolved incidents that have claimed many lives and destroyed properties worth millions. So they have images there of the fire and people trying to see if they can salvage anything. They lost millions in that inferno. Remember, sometime late last year, the government had promised to put up a modern market at Gikomba, and that was immediately after the last fire broke out on a section of that market. Now I'm told, or reports indicate, that close to 80 or 90% of Gikomba was affected by this fire. What is the plan going forward? Other quick highlights on the front page of the Daily Nation. How state wasted 14 billion shillings as schools face cash crunch. So apparently the control of budgets has revealed that close to 14 billion was spent on commitment fees for undrawn loans, penalties and related charges during the first 9 months of the financial year that's ending this week. Elsewhere, Sifuna Oburu camps fight for ODM bases, and why High Court rejected bid for Catholic Church divorce tribunal. That story is on page 2. That's an interesting one, a divorce tribunal. So the High Court has rejected an attempt to stop Catholics from divorcing their partners and exempting them from civil divorce proceedings. In a judgment with implications for church and state relations, which affirms that marriage and divorce remain subject to the law, the court rejected calls to recognize Catholic canon law as an alternative legal framework for marriage disputes. Lazima uende kotini for divorce in Kenya, and the court maintains that no other tribunal or other sitting can determine divorce. That Gikomba fire story is on page 3. And ODM rift widens as Oburu and Sifuna factions fight for control. The story is on page 7. Meanwhile, Ruto and Gachagua camps clash in all Kalau campaigns. We're counting down days to the 16th of July, where the all Kalau by-elections will be held. On the memorial or the remembrance of those victims who died due to police brutality or actions by police on June 25th, 2024, victims now want KNCHR to make public that list. Yeah. Rights Commission recently announced it had finished compiling a list of over 1,000 victims who will receive compensation. People want to know, okay, fine, who are these people? Yeah, make public that list. You could be thinking that because you lost your relative at that time and you're waiting or hoping for compensation, maybe you're not going to receive anything because your kin is not on that list. Back page of the Daily Nation, of course, there's nothing else there but the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The main story here is Haaland headache for Senegal in crucial fixture with Norway. But if you could take a look at other highlights, and as far as the World Cup is concerned, the match that has just ended is New Zealand versus Egypt, where Egypt emerged victorious 3-1. Just ended a few minutes ago. Uruguay also played Cape Verde, where they were held to a 2-2 draw, meaning that African countries or African teams are doing really well at the World Cup so far. Belgium drew Bahrain, had a Bahrain draw against Iran, and Saudi Arabia gave Spain gave Saudi Arabia a beating to remember the 4-0 win. I'm told Tunisia ndio wameumia kidogo, but most African teams, remember this time around, at least Africa has 10 different countries taking part in the World Cup. Most of them are doing relatively well, including DRC, which is my favorite African team. Wale wengine huko chini down south tulisema wao, we're not taking their jobs, it is their own job to support their team. Waendelee hivyo hivyo na Mungu awasaidie. All right, so that's as far as the World Cup is concerned and the Daily Nation. Let's move on to the Standard. The Standard, they call themselves a bold paper, has only one story on the front page, and it's an analysis of some of the promises that President William Ruto has been making over the last 4 years during his presidency, under the title, In 6 Months, If You Know, You Know. So one of them is 750 kilometers of new roads. That was made back in February 2025. Sema kwa miezi sita. Gikomba market redevelopment, and this we've talked about. Yeah, April 9th this year. He said we are going to transform Gikomba. April. And in the next 6 months, you will see another market. We will build a 3-floor market in Gikomba in a record 6 months. That is phase 1, which will cost 800 million shillings. Yeah. Sasa nikiuliza sasa sababu kumechomeka Gikomba kote, itafanya hii kazi kuwe rahisi ama ngumu? Ni swali tu. Ending water crisis, this promise was made in October 2025. He said the government will end the water crisis in Ukambani. The mega Thwake Dam will be completed in May 2026. We are in June 2026. The stalled Umar Dam in Kitui, which has been under construction for 15 years, will finally be completed by April 2026. Once again, we're in June of 2026. Kamarini Stadium, this promise was made in 2023. And he says in 6 months' time, the stadium in Kamarini in West Pokot, which is historic, will be complete. It is June of 2026. Digital tablets for chiefs, that was made in December of last year. And once again, all chiefs will receive digital tablets within 6 months. I don't know if they've received. 6 months should have ended this month. 1 million chapatis, I remember this one. This promise was made in March last year. And they said there'll be a machine that will be making 1 million chapatis per day. And on corruption cases, a promise made on June of 2024. The government says it will ensure cases are resolved within 6 months and that it will no longer be possible for corrupt people to use orders to avoid charges or delay justice. 2 years later, not so sure. So that story has been covered on the front page and on the inside pages. A spread here, page 6 and 7. The 6-month promises broken. How Ruto's deadlines have failed to match delivery. And they have a lot more of those promises on pages 6 and 7. You can grab yourself a copy of this paper. Now ujisome. Yeah. So a section of the Kamarini Stadium in Iten, where construction has been ongoing for nearly a decade. The facility is expected to be completed by October this year. There's an artistic impression of what the stadium should look like once complete. If you look against the picture of the reality on the ground, enye mambo kwa ground ni tofauti. Go back to page 2. Ruto to sign finance bill. And according to this paper, this one will be signed between today and tomorrow. Land cartels and goons keep a tight grip on Kirema's 1,000 acres in the city. Can you imagine owning 1,000 acres of land in the city of Nairobi? Yeah. So the Kirema family has accused cartels and goons who allegedly sold their 1,000 acres of land in Nairobi of frustrating efforts to regularize land and issue title deeds to occupants. Right. Father's Day. Yesterday, yes, it was International Father's Day. Father's Day. Men speak out on silent crisis of neglect and pressure. Remember, June is still the Men's Mental Health Month, closely linked with Father's Day. And all men out there reminded, please check on your brother or your father or your son. Happy belated Father's Day to every dad out there. So those are the main stories. They have that story of Gikomba fire on page 5. Page 4, they have an interesting story of fish from Lake Nakuru. To eat or not to eat, the science and politics of Lake Nakuru fish. I never knew, and I come from that town, that you could eat fish from Lake Nakuru. Interesting. All right. How bandwidth is outgunning bandits in North Rift. That's another story on matters security on page 9 of this paper. Tukienda back page of the Standard, definitely matters World Cup. We've talked a lot about what has happened from factory float World Cup star. Who are they talking about? Is Dennis Undav. Is proving himself a key player for Germany at the World Cup. Yeah. Meanwhile, today's fixtures at the ongoing World Cup. Argentina versus Austria at 8 p.m. Tomorrow, Tuesday, 12 a.m., France versus Iraq. Still on Tuesday, 3 a.m. I think this is a game that many Kenyans would probably wake up early to watch. Norway versus Senegal, another African team back in the play. And on Tuesday at 6 a.m., Jordan versus Algeria, another African team there. So 2 African teams playing early morning games tomorrow. Something to look forward to. Senegal versus Norway and Jordan versus Algeria. All right. That's the Standard. Naitwa Kenya's bold newspaper. Turejelee kwenye mtandao, tuangazie gazeti la The People Daily. People Daily continues to talk about, and they've been doing this analysis starting last week on how the 2027 races are unfolding, especially for President William Ruto, what his plans look like, who and where he'll be employing a lot of energy towards. So governors mount early defense of Ruto's 2027 bid. Drawn from diverse regions, these county chiefs are the incumbents' point persons, using their county-wide political structures to mobilize support across vast areas and defend the president against an increasingly rampant united opposition. So they focused on the governors that the president will be using to campaign. Last week they were focusing on the MPs, I think focusing on cabinet secretaries as well. So hapa kuna Johnson Sakaja ule wa Nairobi, Ahmed Abdullahi of Wajir, Kenneth Lusaka of Bungoma, Susan Kihika Nakuru, Anne Waiguru of Kirinyaga, Jonathan B. ule Kotimoja wa Uasin Gishu, Fernandes Barasa Kakamega, Gladys Wanga Homa Bay, Wesley Rotich of West Pokot, or is it Elgeyo Marakwet, one of those, Abdul Swamad Nasir of Mombasa, and Cecily Mbarire of Embu. Those are the governors the president is banking on to help him campaign for his re-election. Remember, most of these governors, save for a few, will be seeking a second term in office. So will they really have time to campaign for the president, or will they have to split their time between their own campaigns for re-election and the president? Interesting. Kenya braces for widespread Gen Z demonstrations is another story on the front page of this paper, and I think this is the biggest discussion this week, as even when we anticipate the signing or assenting into law of the Finance Bill 2026, a lot of discussion is on what exactly will happen on Thursday. Will people come out to do their normal jobs, to open their shops and to go to offices? Or will it be like the last 2 years where it is total paralysis in most urban areas across the country as the protests continue? That is something that we'll be looking at and will be covering for you. Auditor General flags 31.2 billion shillings in stalled government projects. You know, we keep talking about these billions. I think Kenyans don't even care anymore. There was one content creator, I think on TikTok, who keeps breaking down how much a billion shillings is. And he said that if you were to eat a million shillings every day, if you had to spend a million shillings every day, it would take you not less than 75 years to get to a billion. Now you can imagine figures, we're talking about 31.2 billion shillings. Your pesa is mind-boggling. Let's take a look at the Star. Fresh, independent and different. The main headline is on missing pension billions. So this is pushing workers into financial mess. There's outstanding contributions have hit 67.9 billion shillings as of March 2026, meaning that government departments are deducting these monies from their workers, from civil servants. Unaenda kwa payslip unaona pension ilikatwa, but that money is not being remitted to the respective pensions, including NSSF, to the tune of 67.9 billion shillings. Hiyo pesa itatoka wapi? Ukienda kuretire unaambiwa boss, your employer did not remit that amount. Let's look at the inside pages of the Star, especially on that pension. Remember, pension has been talked about a lot, including partly financing the infrastructure fund. Now we're talking about unremitted contributions towards pension. Kama unaenda kuretire hivi karibuni, kama director wangu Emmanuel Inonda, hapo kuna shida. So unpaid pension contributions ni nyingi sana. Who owes the most in as far as pension is concerned? Public universities. They're the ones who are deducting these amounts from their employees but not remitting the same. County governments, over 20 billion shillings. The health sector comes in third at 2 billion, and then agricultural institutions at 1.6 billion. 92% public sector share of unremitted deductions. Yeah, it's mostly government departments. Back to the front page, unseen hand of DP Kindiki in Olkalau MP by-election, and we see the deputy president disembarking from that military helicopter that usually ferries the president. He's been using this for his campaigns as well. He's a main man to watch when it comes to the election, the by-election we anticipate on July 16th, 2026 in Olkalau. Other quick stories on the front page. Inside man's journey to the depths of mental illness and back. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, this is a special coverage as we continue marking the Men's Mental Health Month of June. So stories around men and mental health are key. Cartels are now using passenger buses to traffic drugs. Parliament has been told. Ile basi unapanda imebeba mihadarati pia. And President Ruto says Kenya to put up first national ambulance dispatch center by July. July is a few days away. Na pale kwa ile gazeti ingine ameambiwa na make promise na happen. Right, so those are the main stories. Back page, of course, matters. World Cup, lethal combination. They talk about France, Mbappe and Olise. They hint at a partnership for the ages. Michael Olise and Kylian Mbappe. Pictured there with the head coach of the French team, Didier Deschamps, during the match against Senegal. And that's the Star. Fresh, independent and different. You can grab yourself a copy of this paper for only 30 shillings. Let's take a look now at Taifa Leo. Fichueni orodha ya fidia. Watetezi wasema sasa serikali yawekewa presha kuchapisha majina ya wahanga wa maandamano watakaolipwa fidia ya shilingi bilioni 2. So baadhi ya waathiriwa wanahofu kuwa huenda hawako katika orodha ya wahanga wapatao 2,000 iliyopokezwa rais wiki jana kutoka kwa tume ya KNCHR. Na pale tunaona picha ya Rais William Ruto, naibu wake Profesa Kithure Kindiki na mwenyekiti wa tume ya kitaifa ya haki za kibinadamu KNCHR, Clarice Oganga, wakibeba ripoti ya tume hiyo kuhusu mwongozo wa fidia kwa wahanga wa ukiukaji wa haki za binadamu katika ikulu ya Nairobi wiki jana. Wanasema orodha hii, wengi ambao wanasema ni waathiriwa wa mambo haya na wanangojea kulipwa fidia, hawajui ni majina gani yako hapa. Unangojea tu utalipwa fidia na hujui kama uko kwenye list. Vidokezo zaidi: maandamano, Rengo avaa viatu vya Raila. Gavana yule wa Siaya yuko katika mstari wa mbele kuongoza maasi dhidi ya serikali, ukiwemo ukumbusho wa Gen Z. Orengo kijana walipoenda kwa askari polisi kuambia kuwa watakuwa na maandamano siku ya Alhamisi wiki hii, aliambia Wakenya wengine wale ambao wataweza kuja barabarani, kaeni nyumbani. Vita vya ubabe katika idara ya polisi, tumezungumzia hayo katika gazeti la Daily Nation. Na serikali yatupa minofu Olkalao. Chama cha UDA kinafanya kila kiwezalo kushinda uchaguzi mdogo wa eneo bunge la Olkalao mwezi ujao. Pale juu Gen Z, Juni 25, Ruto ataka sheria ifuatwe. Rais asisitiza kuwa vijana wana haki ya kujieleza, ila akawataka wajizuie kuharibu mali. Kuna mbunge mmoja hapa tu Kiambu amesema hawa vijana wa Gen Z wapigwe risasi miguuni. Sijui anamwambia nani, lakini masuala ya dimba la dunia, kombe la dunia, anasema nizamu ya Argentina na Ufaransa leo. Kikosi cha Messi kinakabiliana na Austria, Leblo wakikiona na Iran. Gazeti la Taifa Leo. Na tukimalizia haya magazeti humu nchini, la mwisho ni Business Daily. South Africa farms in 413 billion shilling swoop on Kenya blue chips. So buyout set a stage for foray into East and Central Africa. Fast growing regional economies are key attraction. So these are just businesses from South Africa and down south that are looking and salivating at Kenyan companies. And they'll be investing. That's not so bad. 413 billion coming into these companies. It means that we're not doing so badly. And Mbadi deferred the 10 billion shilling bank's core capital rule. Why he deferred this? So claims of a potential slowdown in bank lending to households and businesses this year. So the National Treasury extend the 10 billion shilling core capital requirements, setting a one-off hard deadline of December 2032. So banks have now a reprieve. They don't have to ensure that they have 10 billion shillings core capital. That requirement will come into effect in 2032. 2032 ni mahali ile term ya pili inaisha. Yeah. Tax filers win rights to amend and okay returns. That's on the ticker. Advisors set to earn 77.2 million from family banks listing on NSC. And IMF urges central bank to slash policy meetings to 4. And that's the Business Daily. Let's come back and take a look at the other regional papers. We do have a paper, the Daily Monitor from Uganda. Let's start from there. Tuone kule Uganda wanazungumzia nini. Queries cloud Grand Mbarara Airport plan. Uganda is set to build in Mbarara City what President Museveni says will be one of the world's largest airports. Ni kama tu vile Kenya tunapanga kujenga airport nyingine na tukapatia ule jamaa wa ni Zambia ama Zimbabwe. Proponents, back to Uganda for now. Proponents front the planned Nyakisharara International Airport as a mid-point transit, logistical and refueling hub between China and Brazil, claiming it will triple Uganda's economy. But will the project get the wings to fly? Yes, that's the main story on the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Hata wao wanangojea airport mpya. Tuingie Tanzania, and they start off with the Citizen. The price of the nightlife boom. They're talking about the nightlife in Dar es Salaam. So Dar es Salaam's nighttime soundscape is increasingly becoming a public health concern as rising noise from bars, wanakunywa sana, concerts and entertainment venues disrupt sleep, affect productivity, and exposes residents to long-term risks such as stress, hypertension, and hearing loss. Waache maneno haya. Wameshaenda Mirema wakaona. Yeah? Dar es Salaam ni watu soft sana. Wakikuja hapa Mirema watashikwa na haya magonjwa yote siku ya kwanza. Right. They talk about marriage also on the front page of the Citizen. Why ending child marriage matters for Tanzania's Vision 2050. Alright. Gazeti la Mwananchi tukisalia kule Bongo. Halima Mdee afunguka awatwisha mzigo viongozi Chadema. Ni baada ya Lema kumkaribisha kurejea tena kwenye chama hicho. Aweka bayana mambo muhimu ya kuzingatiwa ili kuondoa mpasuko uliopo baada ya uchaguzi wa ndani wa chama hicho. Masuala ya chama cha upinzani kule Tanzania Chadema yakipewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti hili. Na ni wiki ya hukumu bajeti kuu, bado wanazidi kuzungumzia masuala ya bajeti yao. Kumbuka bajeti zote 4 actually za Afrika Mashariki zilisomwa bungeni zote siku moja. Ilikuwa Alhamisi tarehe 11 mwezi Juni. Kule Tanzania wanaendelea kuzungumzia hayo. All right, those are the local and regional dailies. Let's take a look at the caricatures in the Kenyan dailies. We start